It's been 9 years since the original Leica Q was released, and through all 3 generations, it's always had the same fixed 28mm f1.7 Summilux lens. Until today, this is the brand new Leica Q3 43, and we're rocking a brand new fixed 43mm f2 apo-summicron lens. I don't have the camera in front of me right now. I did get to spend about a week with a pre-production unit about 2 months ago, so big shout out to Leica Camera USA for letting me try the camera out. They're not sponsoring this video. There's no gear exchange or payment involved. They're not going to see this video before you do. I'm not required to make it. This is typically how it is for any of these, new camera release videos, but just so everyone knows, there's the disclaimer. Buy the camera, don't buy the camera. It makes no difference to me. I don't care. I just want to share what my experience was using this camera for about a week a couple of months ago. And I've gotten to try a lot of different Leica cameras ahead of the launch, but never anything this early, I think. So needless to say, I've been dying to talk about this camera. So I'm going to share all of my own personal thoughts. But first, just to get everyone kind of up to speed, let's take a look at the specs and just see what's changed from the Q3, or really what hasn't changed. In just about every way, aside from the obvious change I just mentioned, this is a Q3. It does have a gray leatherette this time and not black like usual, but same full frame sensor giving you triple resolution, offering 60 megapixels, 36 megapixels, or 18 megapixels, all at the full sensor readout in DNG files. ISO range from 50 to 100,000. The fixed lens still has the integrated macro mode, and it is a leaf shutter lens, so you're going to be able to sync your flash at any shutter speed you'd like. Same video capabilities going up to 8K, and that's the only thing I'm going to share on the video specs. I don't use the Q cameras for video. I didn't bother testing it. I'm sure there are going to be other people who will have plenty of video examples from this camera. I'm not that guy, pal. Same hybrid AF system in the Q3. You've got the phase detect autofocus plus contrast detection plus object detection. The same battery, the same EVF, the same inputs. This is a Q3. All existing Q3 accessories even are still going to fit, even the lens hoods. It is a different lens, but the lens hood filters are the same, so you can still use all of the same accessories from the original Q3. Really, the only difference is that lens that's inside. This is the most exciting part of this camera. It's the new lens. It's the first time we've seen a Q having anything other than just a fixed 28mm. And over the years, there's always been speculation and hope that there would be some sort of Q variant with a different focal length. A lot of people would ask for either a 35 or a 50. Those were always like the two most popular things I would see online when people would talk about something like this. And Leica decided to just park it right in the middle at 43. At first you might think that's an odd focal length to choose. 35 and 50 are definitely more common and popular focal lengths when you look at prime lenses, but 40mm focal length lenses have been around for decades, and the whole 43mm field of view is really about as natural as you can get to what the eye sees. Always bouncing between a 35 and a 50 on my M6 or the M11. That's always my preferred focal length, so this to me was just like second nature as soon as I picked it up. It felt much more natural for me to pick this camera up than any other Q camera ever has. I've tried all of the Q cameras and I've never bought one because the 28 for me is just too wide for how I like to shoot. Now with those 28mm lenses, they were also Summilux. They were the faster lenses, the f1.7. This is an f2, it's an apo-summicron, so it's ever so slightly slower. But if you've never shot with an apo lens from Leica, I was sort of given the specs and the brief on the camera before it actually arrived, so I went into it with high expectations and it still exceeded that. At any distance, wide open or not, this lens is tack sharp and it has this beautiful fall off. The lens was obviously made specifically for this sensor. They're always going to be married together. And at the largest resolution, the 60 megapixels, it handles this no problem. It's just a perfect lens for that sensor. Autofocus was great. I actually found myself using the rear LCD more often than I would on my M11 or even the SL2. I really enjoy just using the camera in that sort of point and shoot kind of way. However, if I bought the camera, I would have to have a grip or thumbs up of some kind just to make it a lot more comfortable. I tried using the M11 thumbs up and it worked, but it obviously covered up some function buttons that's not made for it. But I think if you're going to use the camera, especially in any one-handed kind of point and shoot environment, having a thumbs up or a grip like that makes a big difference. And if I were to buy the camera the first day, I would immediately order from Helium Design Lab. Their grip for the Q3 looks like the best grip I've ever seen. So big shout out to Helium Design Lab. If you're looking for a Q3 grip, check that one out. It looks amazing. Which begs the question, am I going to buy one? When I had the camera in hand, I really had every intention of pre-ordering this thing. I really want one. The camera is going to retail for $6,895 US dollars. That's a $600 increase from the original price of the Q3. But even without that increase, now just isn't the time for me to buy that camera, to spend that much money on a new camera. I have other cameras that I'm using a lot right now that I'm more than happy with. I've been shooting a lot more 35mm film lately. I've had my M6 back from repair, and I've just been using this as my day-to-day kind of camera, just like I used to, and I'm more than happy with that. The camera did make me realize something though. I've used the M11 extensively. The monochrome about 6 months or so, but overall about 2 years with the M11 system. It's a phenomenal camera, one of my favorites that I've used, especially just favorite digital cameras, but I sold it not that long ago for 2 reasons. As I mentioned, I've got my M6. It's my one forever camera. It gives me everything I want out of an M, out of a rangefinder experience. This is always going to be my favorite camera. But if I were to be buying a digital camera for just personal use, you know, my daily carry kind of camera, between the M11 and the Q343, I would buy the Q343. And someone's going to go, oh, he's just saying that because it's the latest and greatest. You knob. I always use a 35 or a 50 on my M6, my M11. I'm always bouncing between the two. 28's too wide. Anything longer than a 50, I don't like it. It's just what I like. And any 35 or 50 or even 40mm lens that I'm going to be using on an M camera, it's not going to even compare to the quality of that 43mm Apo Summicron. So for less money with, you know, theoretically better image quality from that lens, and really just all of the convenience that the M11 lacks. And it's the things that you don't want in an M camera to begin with. The tilt screen, the autofocus. Those are the things I don't want in an M camera. It's hard to kind of compare the two. I consider them in 2 different categories, and again, I can only talk about my personal experience. I can't speak for everybody. So for me, I already have an M6. If I didn't have the M6 and I had to choose between, you know, using an M or using the Q343, maybe it would be a little bit trickier of a decision. But for me, if I were buying a digital camera to go alongside my M6, at this point, I would take the convenience of the Q343. But that's just me. And right now, it ain't in the cards. Time will tell if I ever pick one up, but I still had a great time using the camera. Big shout out to Leica Camera USA for letting me try it out. And if you have any questions at all about the camera, you can leave them in the comments down below. But that's it for today. So thank you guys for watching. I love you. I'll see you next time.